Nini, welcome. I'm Dr. Queen, Reverend Dr. Queen Mother Imakhu. It's my pleasure to be here with you again this evening on Shenu Living. Shenu Living is designed to help you understand the various facets of Kemetic culture and Kemetic spirituality, but incorporating what you learn into your life in a way that helps to enhance your life, to empower you, and to motivate you. This is the way that I have come to know it, and it has truly helped to propel my life forward in so many ways. And so it's my joy to be able to share these various principles with you as well. I'm hoping you had a great day. And if so, please give me a shout out. Reverend Tamu, how are you? I like that peace and joy. Give thanks and praise. Yes, give thanks. Yeah, each day is so unpredictable. I'm somebody who does enjoy consistency. My H chase my AIDS. I talked about that the other night, and how it can be difficult, if you're healing from things, to fall back into a consistent pattern. But uh, the thing is, though, because the fact that my life is so multifaceted, that things will just pop up out of nowhere. And so then I end up having to rearrange things, right? So, but I'm remaining fairly consistent with coming on in the evenings, for which I'm glad of. Thank you. Wow. Wow. Brandon, how are you this evening, dear? It's good to see you. And so I'm sitting here with my green drink, which needs to be stirred. I I grabbed a bottle of Suja Organic a couple hours ago from the store, just to kind of help give my system a boost, right? Um, and gotta say, thank you, Brandon. I gotta say, I told you I wanted to kick coffee, and really minimize it. Boy, have I. Oh my. Way of Blue, it's good to see you again. Peace and blessings. Am I saying it right? Is it Waya or Waya? Let me know. So yeah, I'll go to drink coffee now, and I'm good with just a few sips or half a cup, and I can't even do a full cup now. I had somebody who was kind enough at one of our meetings the other day bring me a cup of coffee on the way in, because I didn't have it that morning, and I felt like I'd really missed my morning pick me up. And wow, um, she brought me that coffee, and I had a few sips, and all of a sudden everything just like plummeted, crash. Said I'm really not really feeling the need to have it. But see, I got it not just for the enjoyment of having a cup of coffee. I also got it to help my system, because some of us have learned that coffee is a great way of helping your system do what it needs to do. Okay, so um, yeah. So the thing is, though, now I've had to find some replacements. So yeah, this Suja is really good. This is not a product endorsement. This is just, it just happened to pick this up, all right? And I remember that this is what did the job. So, you know, good thanks. Give thanks and praise, Constance. I'm glad to see you. Let's see. Waya. Okay. Waya Blue. Waya is wolf in Cherokee. Oh wow. Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Waya. Thank you. You enjoying my coffee journey, Constance? Do you enjoy seeing me suffer? And actually, like I said, it's not so bad. It's not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. In fact, in this keto journey, I'm finding that my appetite has been cut completely in half too, which is fine with me. You know, it's fine with me. So tonight, we're going to be talking about the purpose of Oracle. And the reason I thought about this, and it really was strongly impressed upon me, because it's not like I just sit around and twiddle my thumbs and think, say, what am I going to talk about tonight? I wait until I get a message, a divine message, okay, you should talk about this. The reason I brought this up is because I was thinking about what's happening in the world right now. Well, what's happening here in the U.S. We've got some legal situations going on that are off the chain. And for those of you who may be on the other side of the world, I'll tell you, the best thing you can do is check your local news, well, no, your international news source. Just Google what's happening in the US and all the madness that is going on, because things truly are becoming unhinged. I mean, last week there was a ruling from the Supreme Court that homeless people can be arrested people who live outside. Okay, there's a lot that goes along with that. And then also we've had this ruling from the Supreme Court saying basically that the president can have the same power as a king, if you really want to break it down. A lot of things are happening, and we've had an advance in racism as well. We've seen that over the last several years, and there are just so many things that people never thought they would ever see again in their lifetimes, because we've come so far seemingly with our society, even though we also know that there are a lot of things that are in peril. Otherwise you wouldn't have people like me who are activists. So here's the thing: everything that's happening is not a surprise to me. Why is that? Because of the oracle reading that we got for our per Ankh regarding what was going to happen in this year. And Anjeti was the one who spoke, and if you want to go back and check on the video that I did way back in, what was it, like December, I think, maybe January, about what was projected for 2024. And it talked about, Anjeti in particular talked about the fact that major upheaval was coming, that was going to affect not only us here, but also the world. And the U.S. is a country that has its reach globally, right? And so we have seen major upheaval that has taken place. And, I'm not surprised. Why? Because of Oracle. So before I get started, how many of you here are aware of what Oracle is, and how would you define Oracle? Please drop it in the chat. There are some people who are familiar with it. There are some people who are saying, what the heck are you talking about? And there are others who may be kind of familiar with it. Some may be afraid of it because we've been taught to be afraid of it. Yet and still, it exists and persists in our society in all of its different forms. Whether you're going to call it this system or this, or prophetic vision. There are a lot of different ways that you can identify it. Some people will just say, oh, it's just a bunch of hooey or hocus pocus. However, Oracle has been really effective to prepare individuals and communities for the energies that are taking place and that are foreseen to happen in either the near future or the far off future. I spoke the other day about conspiracy theorists and how people will always keep you thrown off guard because they're spewing all of this fear-mongering stuff, and so that you never feel secure in your own skin, in your own home, where you live. And so but there's a difference. There's a difference between the doomsday, the intentional doomsday prophets, and those who truly have the gift of prophecy. There's a difference. So let me hear, what are your thoughts regarding what is Oracle? Waya Blue says, I remember hearing that term in a Hercules movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Some of you may know Oracle to be a person. And in ancient times, Oracle was a person. For those of you who saw The Matrix, who was it that Neo was going to see? The Oracle. And what did she do? Brandon says, Of course, Oracle, all knowing, all seeing. Yes, indeed. And a rising divine beauty, thank you for being here. Peace and blessings to you. When you consult Oracle, that means that you're going to a divine source that has insight into what is coming. Now, you should also know that when you are given that insight, it does not mean that it is set in stone. What you see can be altered. It's possible, right? Um, just like when people go and get their life path readings done, and they may have a pretty bleak looking chart, but it does not mean that the chart cannot be overcome. You just have some challenges in being able to, and how you do that, but at least you're forewarned, so that you know, and you're able to internalize and then think about what your response is to the situation, as opposed to just caving and saying, well, this is just the way it's going to be. We have choice, and because of that, we have the potential to create some greatness out of garbage. That's the principle of Khepri. Khepri is transformation, and his name also means miracle, and it means reshaping the patterns of your life, right? Constance says, I personally use Oracle and divination interchangeably. There are many different ways to sense and intuit information. Some Oracle can be cards, bones, reading the stars. Yes, indeed, all of that. So let's break down exactly what it means and what exactly it does do. Oracle is a form of communication with the divine. Now, the example I always give is, I can take my shoe. I like my sandal. It's iridescent, so I can wear it with a bunch of different outfits. I wore this today because it picks up the green that I have on today. So say I use this shoe, right? I decide that if I throw it down and it lands this way, and I do a yes, no, right? And this means no, and this means yes, then, and I pray and ask for this to be the agreed upon communication device between me and the divine. Now, the divine can be the absolute most high, or it could be the emissaries from the most high, which are Necheru, which are Orisha, Loa, okay? And so, or angelic forces, or somebody who acts as an intermediary for that as well. So, all right. So, say, all right, here's something really, really general. Is there something that is really out of the way that's going to happen tomorrow that I need to watch out for? This is yes, this is no. Of course, you're not going to be able to see, but trust me. All right, so now let me throw it. Okay, it's on its side. I didn't take that into consideration. So that could be like maybe, right? It landed like this. So that could be, what the heck is on the bottom of my shoe? That could be maybe, okay? Because it landed like this. Didn't land like this, didn't land like this, landed like this. So, Mets and Mets, maybe. All right. So now either I could sit and say, oh, no, what could happen? And I could stew about it, worry about it, or I could say, okay, well, I'll just be careful. I'll be on the lookout, and I'm going to have a really positive day. I'm just going to project forward it being a positive day. Okay. So the holy people in the various communities would usually be the vessels for the divine, whether they would just naturally be able to tap in and then bring forth prophetic messages, or they could interpret dreams that have come to you where the divine has come. Like yesterday, we talked about La Sirene, we talked about Hatmayit, we talked about Yamaja, the divine water spirits who come to you in dreams. And I should also say to you that usually they say that when La Sirene comes to you, that means that she's coming to bring you a warning. All right. I found that true for various other water spirits too. Sometimes you can get something like, hey, this is coming, be happy, right? Or you can get, let me tell you something, this is getting ready to happen, here are your warning signs. So if you find yourself in the midst of this, then pay close attention, because it's probably something that you don't want to be involved in, right? So, um, so you have a person who can be an oracle. You can have a person who is an oracle who uses a system. In ancient Kemet, the first oracles came out of the Wajet temple, which I talked about yesterday. Wajet temple is the oldest known water temple that came out of antiquity. And the oracles, who were known as the Sibyls, came from all the way back then. Sibyl is very close to the word Simbi, but the Sibyls, and I did find the breakdown from a Kemetic standpoint of that name. I can't think of it right now, and I don't want to leave the screen to go and to go and get my book where I have my notes. But whatever the case, still, um, the Sibyls were considered high priestesses who were highly revered because of their gifts of prophecy. And for one in particular, she would use leaves, the leaves from and the bark off of trees. Now, this is associated with Seshat. Seshat, who is the keeper of secrets. She is the mother of mysteries and also of libraries and of high knowledge and of everything dealing with planning and schematics. And so there she has the gift of holding on to and keeping a record of the past and the present, but also being able to foresee the future. So it would be also that the Sibyls would write their messages on leaves and just drop them down. So this is significant because the leaves are associated with the tree of life. And the tree of life is Seshat and Nit and Oset and Nut and Yusei Oset. Don't ask me how I've retained all this information in my head. This is all without notes, okay? um, so also, it was said that they would be sitting um, on this little stool, which was above these sulfur springs, and so the sulfur will actually put them into an altered state. Now, we talked also recently about herbal intoxicants, right? And the role that they have. They're there to relax you, to heal you, but also certain herbs have healing properties that put you into an altered state where you are able to access higher forces. However, there's the other side where people will abuse them, and then you can end up dealing with some low vibratory energy. Um, Stones were mentioned, stick stones. I also talked last week about Stephanie Rose Bird's book, Stick Stones, Roots and Bones. And those were all very common in the ancient use of contacting the divine and receiving messages for the future. And also to look at the shaping factors of a situation today. You have a problem, you can't really make it out, and so then you end up going to somebody who can help you out on that end, right? So sticks, the way sticks were thrown and the way they would land, agreed upon system. Same thing with stones, and various roots. Just like also how people would like do tea leaf reading. That's legit. It's a really legit skill. I know some people who, especially of the Strega tradition, who are experts at that. And then with bones, that's something that can make people pretty uncomfortable because people are used to playing with sticks and with rocks, right? But people generally don't play with animal bones. And if a child is drawn to playing with animal bones, then they look at you like you're crazy. Now, of course, if you're sitting at your dinner table and you're sitting there sucking on the bones of whatever meat you happen to be eating, then people don't think twice about it. But the idea that you would be doing your own version of what people would consider some lower level taxidermy is far beyond the reach of most people. But the fact is, for people who are in spiritual traditions, it's not unusual to find that many of us have collections of many kinds of different spirit beings that have been here and are no longer here. So, and this is true for feathers. You know, there's something that's very common in the hoodoo tradition with using chicken feet. Now, this is an indication of the area that I live in, right? Because if you go to if you go to some of the local markets, and they happen to be the ones that cater mostly to the Hispanic population and also the Haitian population, the Caribbean population in general, they sell chicken feet. They do, and it's not just to eat. I sent some friends the other day a video of it's called Keisha and Tremo, right? How many of you know about Keisha and Tremo? It's hilarious. This dude Tremo has this puppet named Keisha, and it's like his girlfriend, but she's like a real hood chick, and she's always selling dinners. And in her dinners, she always has chicken feet as the main meat. It's hilarious. It really is. I sent the latest video of her preparing to cook for the upcoming holidays, and she's always trying to sell her plates, right? And so she lifts the lid off and she's like, "That's right, y'all. You want to get some of this right here?" Yes. Trim Brandon. Yeah. So, but I laugh for a number of reasons, because the validity of it, but also because in uh, in Caribbean driven cultures, no, not driven, Caribbean cultures, there is that other knowledge of what to do with the chicken feet that have nothing to do with throwing them in a pot to cook them. You know, I knew this woman who would buy them actually to scare people off, and she would paint the nails on them and bundle them together and put them on her door. It's a little extreme, but then again, on my door, I have something that's protective. It's got a bunch of feathers in it. So what can I say? Anyway, so back to Oracle. So there are a lot of decks that are out there. Oracle decks have been popular for a long time, and they go back to ancient Kemet too. Folks are most familiar with the tarot, and to some people, if you say tarot, then they're about to label you a devil worshiper. It's not like that. The tarot was used as a teaching tool for the priesthood. Each of the symbols on them can be traced to Kemet. The very first one is called the Fool, and that is represented by 0. It's not the actual one. Number 1 is the magician that follows. But with the Fool, if you look at the various symbols within it, you find that it actually relates to Besu, who predates Eshu. He is the one who brings you through the portals, and he is loved by children. You've heard me talk about Besu. He's also known as Bes, also Bezu, Bezu, but his name is spelled Besu generally, or Bes. So if you know the symbols, and I share these with my students, then you're aware, okay, so it figures that the deck would open up with this symbol, or the teachings would open up with this symbol, because when you do ceremony, you have Besu who opens the way, or who brings you through the way. Beset opens it. Besu pulls you through the portal and guides you safely through, and brings the energies that are protective and safe. Okay, and so in the day when the sun rises, he is the east, and again your day dawning and opening, right? In the tarot, the first symbol is of a young man who is about to step off a cliff. He's got his hobo bag, and he has an outfit on which actually has the indication of the fact that he really is Besu. So once you really learn all of that, and you understand the origin, that it was not just some random pastime thing that people picked up on, or even though it became made somewhat profane in a way by folks who were driven out of Kemet when Kemet fell, and the priesthood basically took the knowledge that they had with them and tried to do the best they could with making a living. Or you had the priesthood that did not stay in the temple all year because it was common for them to shift out during seasons. So they were obligated to spend one season in the temple, and their seasons were 4 months long. They didn't have three, 4 3 month seasons. They had 3 4 month seasons. So they would spend 1/3 of the year in the temple, put in their service, and then they go back to their regular occupation of what whether it was being a barber or whether it was being a farmer, or they might go back and be the neighborhood physician because of all the knowledge that they had. Okay, so it was common for them to just swap out, which was good because unless you were someone who was working there full time, they did have those full time high priests, but you had to really be up on the ladder and have put in a lot of time in order to reach that lofty position. But in the meantime, as you swapped out the year, it did still give you a chance to be in touch with what was happening with the general populace. I talked yesterday about the fact that um, the ones who were most in touch with the water were the common folk because they had to deal with it on a regular basis. Whereas people who were in the temple, or in not so much the temple, I should say, those who were dealing with serving the Nesu and Nisut, the king and the queen in the palace, were more disconnected because they were further away from the water for the safety of the royals. They had to go and fetch water, and so they were the ones that were at risk, yes, but still they were in service to the king and queen. I also want to mention that it is interesting that back then they had people assigned to the royalty to be their royal butt washers. How egocentric do you have to be to not take care of washing your own behind? And how humiliating it had to be in such a position where you were that broke where you had to take the job. Yeah, talk about not being in touch as far as the royals were concerned. I mean, wow. So, it's bad enough you had people that carried away your chamber pots and all that other stuff. It's so funny because you have two different things here. You have all of this bravado, but then you're so pompous that you can't even take care of your own personal needs like that. Have no shame, right? So, anyway, um, Jedi, how are you this evening? You're designing your own deck. I highly encourage that. I've designed designed several, and in fact, I wasn't going to show these. These are just some of them. This is my Cowrie Blessings deck. This is the second version of it, and oh, that's a great question, Reverend Tamu. What do I think about AI assisted created oracle decks? I own a deck that someone else created that I was so surprised and a bit disappointed to find out later that it was all AI. Because at first I'm thinking, wow, this person is an amazing artist. Look at all of this. And this is the, well, I'm not going to tell you which deck because I don't want to put this sister out there like that. But it is a beautiful deck of African images, the guardians that we know throughout the various traditions of the motherland. I was really, really impressed by it. And I do have to say that I still found it to be effective. So, see, the other side of that as an artist, I was really knocked out by all of the gorgeous, unbelievably beautiful images that I was seeing on IG that people were putting out there of Orisha, of Loa. And I was like, wow, these people are really, they're tremendous. Then I found out they were AI generated. And so I felt like, oh, that's cheating. However, I'm also a graphic artist, and I was fascinated by it. So then when I learned about how to create AI art, I said, okay, so there is something where I won't have to worry about my art being stolen, because I've had that happen. When you're an artist and you put your heart and soul into pieces, and found out, oh gosh, it's been more than 10 years ago, I found out now if you put your stuff up there, people are going to rip it off. So you don't feel so bad about an AI image that you created um, being taken. And let me just tell you, working with AI is a science, especially now if you pay for it. Like I have one that I pay for, and you got to put in like 20 different tries, and each time your money is whittling down before you get exactly what you want. And then on top of that, you'll find that you may get what you want, but then you see that the image has like 6 fingers and an extra hand over here. No kidding. No kidding. Right? There's always, the ones that are the closest, they're the ones that end up being jacked up. If you watch and see, because so many people are using AI now all across the board, and especially for a lot of the so-called documentary style stuff and the storytelling that is going on, but you don't catch it at first. You don't see what's that hand doing just floating there, you know, third hand, feet jacked up, toes just like, you know what I mean? And so, um, but in terms of the effectiveness for using it, I have to say, it worked fine. That particular deck I'm talking about worked fine for me, uh, even after finding out that it was all AI generated. And I knew this because this other sister who had originally told me about the deck said, "Yeah, isn't this great? I'm working on my own deck too." Okay, okay. I do think we have to be careful about AI though. And speaking of Oracle, see, there's where you have a good chance of being able to check certain things to see if it's valid or not. For instance, there is an AI generated video that's been going around of this person who claims to be Juan Gabriel. Those of you who followed me, you know I've been talking about Juan Gabriel, who is now an ancestor. He's in the ethers, and I call him my ancestral, no, my music ether boo. Okay, my ether boo, he is my musical muse boo in the ethers, right? And it looks so convincing. It really does. Uh, and you've got some really unwell person who is trying to convince people that it's really him and saying he's in touch with him. The man died in 2016. And this was somebody that he had cast off. So now the only attention that you can get and money you can try to make is by claiming he's alive with this phony AI. And the giveaway is the hairline and the hands, especially the hands. I'm watching this video and I'm like, wow, that is that him? And of course, the generated voice, all you have to do is just get a snippet of somebody's voice, and then you can just, generate it and listen. If the AI will study the vocal patterns and everything, intonation, all of that, and replicate all of that. But the giveaway, the hands. Juan Gabriel had very beautiful and unique hands. And this guy had what this image had with some chubby, clunky fingers. And I wasn't the only one that noticed it. People were basically saying in Spanish, as I'm reading all the comments, like, oh, get the heck out of here with this. This is insulting to his memory. Plus, that ain't him, because look at his hands. Those are not Juan Gabriel's hands, right? So right now, there's still a lot to really give away, whether there is AI or whether it's AI or whether it's not. One of the things is when you're hearing these very convincing voices as they're doing these stories, there are always mispronunciations. It's funny, I should trip over that word. Mispronunciations of various words, like say something as simple as today. AI could read it as todai, right? Those are the very simple clues. And then also, the thing that I observed is that when you come across an AI generated story, it'll give you a tease, and then it'll go into this whole history that you didn't ask about. You just tuned in to find out about this one question, this one point that they put out there, and they take you on this whole long journey just to fill time because AI has accumulated all this information, and then the AI generated voice is, of course, reading all the information that is that goes along with whatever the subject is, and then maybe by the end you get your little tease, and it's not really completely on point, but a lot of it is just like filler information that sounds authentic. Oh Lord, if I see another JLo story, I swear I'm tired of Benifer, I'm tired of JLo, I'm tired of all that, because out of curiosity I'm like, okay, so what's going on? Although truthfully I knew it wasn't going to last, but still the thing is, same AI generated stuff, the same, and you're waiting. It's going on and on and on. Now, let me just go back to my point about the fake Juan Gabriel. For somebody who didn't know and was like really like on the fence, and somebody who was used to using Oracle, they could use Oracle to check and see, is this really him? Or is he really dead? Okay. And then there's another whole thing about contact with the dead, but I won't go into that. Okay. So, Oracle is used to validate things, to give insight into things. And I was starting to show you my decks. My other deck that's printed is my Shenu Renu Kemetic Rune deck. After doing all the research, I shared this image with you day before yesterday, about Nefu. And this is Kenum or Kenemu. And going on and on. And this is all based on my artwork as opposed to using some generated artwork. But I have to admit, I have thought about creating a deck because I've done about maybe 25 AI images of the Netcharu. Why? Because I found, just like I was stopping on my IG and looking at these various images of the Loa that were stunning, right? I realized that it makes people stop and look. The images that we have from antiquity, they're valid because of the time frame that they came out of, and also it's proof that this stuff did exist then. But we're in a different age, and people have gotten kind of, if you will, bored with or not as excited by the ancient images. To see them reimagined, and also as an artist to have the challenge of being able to reimagine them by putting in the description, and then finally after 58 million tries you finally get the one you want, there is something really exciting about it. And I find, actually, in truth, that people do respond to the promos I put out with the beautiful, perfect, reimagined AI comedic images. Now, I do put my copyright on them. Now, there's a whole thing about whether you can actually copyright AI. But see, what I also do is I will enhance different things. I will add different things, right? And because I'm an artist, and that's what I like to do. And it also kind of puts my fully reimagined spin on it, and really helps it to come to life in the way that I need it to. All right. So I was able to generate this. Okay, but it needs to have an unk on the crown. Let me choose which unk, let me go through the whole process of making it, this particular file, remove all the background, blah, 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 and then change the color, boost this, smooth this out, all of this, So because of the fact that I do put certain specifications in there that I add to the already generated AI image, then I put a copyright on it, even though I'm so sure that somebody's going to come along, cut my copyright off, and just use it for themselves. But at least it's not stuff that I've done by my own hand. So I hope that answers your question. That was pretty lengthy, right? Let me scroll up. I have one called Between Worlds, utilizing crows, but it sort of looks familiar to the artist's actual paintings. I would never get one, but I saw one. It spoke to me, inspired by the archetypes such as Carl Jung. Okay. And KW says Aquarian age pros and cons. Right. Exactly. Also, in line with what you spoke about yesterday on information overload. Yeah, we have access to too much information. But you realize that this is all experimentational anyway. Is that a word? Experimental. I'm tired. And I can't even claim it's because I need coffee because I'm actually kicking a habit. Um, but this is all experimental. How many of you remember the show Max Headroom from the 80s? And there were all the glitches, and it was like, they started perfecting it back then, or working on perfecting it. Constance says, I feel that we move deeper into the Aquarius age. That as we move deeper into the Aquarius age, we all have to use our intuition, absolutely, which we talked about yesterday, to be able to know the difference between real and manufactured. Yes, indeed. Because in the same way that we have to really intuitively sense whether something or somebody is real, that is presenting themselves to you in a certain way, but then it turns out that they've just completely fabricated who this person is, in order to get you to let them into their world. It's the same way now with the internet. And there's so much wrong information. I mean, somehow we've moved further along in technology, but because of the fact that there's so many AI images, AI articles out there now that are gathering intelligence, but from a bunch of different sources, there is wrong information. I can't tell you how many articles I have I've found, and I'm reading. I'm like, that's not right. This is not. This has to be AI, and then I check and I find out that it is. There's a lot of that you hear also on the videos on YouTube as well. A lot of misinformation. Oh my goodness. Lanham Trademark Act of 1946. Where's my phone? Here it is. Let's see what that is. And for those of you who may just be tuning in, you're watching Shenu Living. I am your host, Queen Mother Imakhu, also known as Imakhu, Reverend Imakhu, La Serena Imakhu. And we're discussing the purpose of Oracle. Lanham trademark. Here it is. I hate that I just clicked on Wikipedia because that's not entirely correct all the time either. Enacted July 5th, so it's coming up on an anniversary, 1946. Codified at 15 USC, et cetera, the primary federal trademark statute in the United States. In other words, the act is primary statutory foundation of United States trademark law at the federal level. The act prohibits a number of activities, including trademark infringement, trademark dilution, and false advertising. See, some have put AI as a form of false advertising. And for those of you who use YouTube, you'll see that when you go to publish something, it will ask you if you have content that would be considered AI, and if it would be false and misleading. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, YU. Reverend Tamu, you remember Max? Yeah, Max Headroom. It was, y'all look it up. Max Headroom. There's kind of a play on words with that, sort of a double entendre with the fact that his name was Max Headroom. All right. So now, with the different types of oracle, and well, let's talk about um, the whole thing about creating your own oracle. I was in a situation one time. It was kind of a retreat. Yeah, let's call it a retreat, okay? But you had all your stuff taken from you, but you're allowed to keep a notebook. And I was in miserable circumstances, I swear to you. And I just felt like, I don't feel this is a conducive environment. I don't feel that this whole thing is right. And I need to make sure that it's not my ego. I need to check in with my guardians. So I took a piece of paper out of the notebook and I tore them into little pieces. And I wrote the names of the guardians um, on, each one got a guardian name. And so, and then I put them in a little plastic bag. Don't ask me why I had this plastic bag. I don't even remember how the heck I got this little baggie. I don't know. But I put it in the baggie and um, I devised a yes no system. I don't remember what the heck I did to devise I might have even just simply written out yes or no. Yes on one side, so that I would say who is speaking and, check up the bag and, do a whole protective prayer first, especially because the fact that I felt that the environment that I was in was not safe. So calling out to my, asking my highest self to reach out to, all of my protective guardians. We call them the Paut Necheru. That's the company of guardians. And then, asking, well, you to please comment on this. Is this environment one that you feel is going to be beneficial? No. Okay, let's go further. What do you please comment on this? And it was a series of yes, no questions. But also to find out who is speaking is important because each guardian has its own message or messages because of each of them having a different property that they bring, right? So it gave me insight as to how I should proceed forward because I did ask, should I stay or should I go? So, even though I have I think I have in total about 35 Oracle decks. I've been collecting them since I was in my late 20s. And I used to have this little mini teeny Rider-Waite Tarot deck, which was eerily precise, right? And this is long before I even knew the Kemetic connection. But the guardians have a way of still being able to speak to you. So because I was cut off from all of my, I have, you name it. I've got decks up to wazoo. I've got imprinted stones. I've got runes. I've got Kemetic runes that I created, not just in the paper, but also on stone. I've got, yeah. But still, I wanted to make sure that my intuition was right because ultimately it's believed that what we want is to become our own living oracles. That means that your intuition is so strong and that you are so tied into your higher self and divine source that this is not right. Okay. Now, if you're at a place where you second guess yourself, as I've been guilty of that. Excuse me. Then you back it up with Oracle. And then also ask for signs from nature or from your environment, something, okay? Maybe, like there was something that happened today and I was wondering about it. And then the next thing you know, something popped up on my YouTube feed that had a major symbol for one of my guardians. And I'd never seen this before. And I said, okay. So I'm very clear on who is speaking and if I should proceed forward, Even though in my heart I was feeling yeah, I need to do such and such. And then, you get the confirmation. You ask for confirmation from at least 3 sources, you know? Yeah. Any questions so far? Now, the horrible thing is when you do get to the point where you're really highly intuitive and psychic, and you start seeing a bunch of stuff that you don't want to see. But you have to have the discernment whether to speak on it or not, or do something, I mean, because um, I'm the kind of person where I generally can pick up on people when we touch skin to skin. So it can be a handshake, it can be an embrace. God forbid if you come and put your hand on me and you don't want me to know your business. And you should have been touching me in the first place. In Eve's Bayou, which is one of my favorite movies. Love Eve's Bayou. Oh my goodness. Um, Debbie Morgan's character, when she had her clients come to see her, and she said, "Give me your hands." It was the first time that I saw in a movie something depicting the process that I experienced when people would come to me and I would say, "Give me your hands." Um, and you close your eyes and then everything unfolds. That their spirits want you to know, that their guardians or ancestors want you to know, so that way you can be the bridge and help them. Okay. uh it's it can be a bit disconcerting sometimes, but by the same token, you need to be spiritually strong in order to acknowledge that yes, this is what is true. And so I keep my mouth shut about a lot of things. People don't realize, and then later you get the proof, and that your intuition is on point. What do I think of the I Ching? I love, 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 love I Ching. Oh my goodness, I love I Ching. I have several I Ching books. My favorites are from Stephen Karcher, and then also the original from Master Alfred Huang, who spent time in prison for something that I believe he did not do, but he used the time in prison to reconstruct the original I Ching system with all of the stories that are associated with every single gua, or hexagram as they had been called, but the original term was gua. It is, the system is masterful. It is another one that is eerily precise. It is one that still speaks to us today, and I'm constantly quoting the I Ching. And I just shared, was it 2 weeks ago, or it might have been last week, my favorite gua, which is 11, which is peace, which is where the family accumulates its wealth after a lot of work, and then eventually generations later it all gets lost because of the fact that the later generations were out of touch with how their money was accumulated, and they squandered it all. And so the peace was disrupted. But yeah, I love, love, love the I Ching, and I spent a lot of time learning it and coming to understand it, and then seeing how every single facet played out. For those of you who are not familiar with the I Ching, it is something I talked about yesterday. It is it is said to have been created by Fuxi, who was an Afro-Asiatic ruler. There are some scholars who doubt that he existed, mainly because it's hard for them to accept that somebody from Africa with black skin, because there are black Asians, would have created such an elaborate system. But it replicates the African binary oracle system. So it came straight up out of Africa, as far as I'm concerned. Straight up out of Africa. It has 64 chapters in this wise book, and they each depict particular energy patterns that happen in life. Within each of the 64, they each break down to 6 specific energies within that one energy. It's amazing. And so um, the there are two main processes for how to use it, and one is through the throw of what are called yarrow stalks, and the other is through the throw of coins. And so that just takes some skill to learn each of those and to understand how actually when you get the result and it tells you, okay, this is the pattern either that you're in or that you just left, right? And that you're going to move into, or all right, you just left this rather, and this is the present situation right now, or you have the present situation and it's moving to looking like this. And I have never found it to be wrong, ever, ever, ever. Sometimes it makes you mad because you're like, oh man, this, and you try to go into denial and then you see it play itself out. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you. Thank you. Benabel wins I Ching. You harvested your own yarrow stalks? Oh, wow. Now, see, I have to say the yarrow stalk method I did not master. I mastered the toss of the coins. And even you can use cowrie shells. So I went from the coins to using the cowrie shells. Um, but the yarrow stalks, I give you that, right? I got, listen, that's a really beautiful skill. Who is outside my, it's 11:07 at night and I hear somebody outside. Y'all go home, go to bed. Brandon says, I love Benabel. Let me look this up. Put this on my Amazon wish list. Tell me about Benabel and what makes the Benabel version. Benabel when? Here we go. Atlantic Books. Okay, previously published The Holistic Tarot and the Tao. Oh, it's a woman. Okay. The Tao of, wow, the Tao of Craft, I Ching, the Oracle, the Holistic Tarot. Wow. Okay. Let me see if she's, it's a long page here. That's okay. See, I'll just go to Amazon and put in Venerable I Ching. So tell me what is it? What it is? Oh, you interviewed her. Wow, wow. Okay. Annabelle Wen I Ching. There it is. Oh, they have it on audio book. Okay, where's the tangible book? Come on now. Come on. Hardcover. All right, I'll take that. All right. So I have that. I have that on my wish list. She's a young Asian American woman who is a Taoist practitioner. Okay. Brandon says, yes, I've come to know her from YouTube. She's done research on she's done research on the matter, but that's all I can say. Hold on a second. Let me just see something. What's her face? Oh, I've seen her on YouTube. Yes. Okay. I don't know why I didn't think to order her version of the I Ching. She published 4 editions of her tarot deck and a Chinese bone script oracle. Wow. Oh my goodness. And I think she is a lawyer. Don't quote me. It is the same person that I followed. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because actually things have not come up for quite a while in my feed. It's been taken over by all this Bennifer stuff. So a lot of the spiritual things that I usually would have come up on my feed um, have not popped up. I've had to go digging. So thank you for reminding me of her, so that way I can pull her stuff back up tonight. Constance says, yeah, she's like a super Libra. Wow. Reverend Tamu, yes, she is a corporate attorney and a musician and artist. Yes, the same person. Okay. Wow. Such a small world. See, that's so great. And thank you all for recommending, Reverend Tamu, especially, and all of you for advocating this, because finding the most precise interpretations when it comes to understanding the energy patterns and how they relate to your life, that's I feel like I keep using the word vital, essential, helpful, beneficial. How's that? Yeah. Okay. So, why was that brought up? Because it is a form of oracle, and it's a very highly effective form of oracle at that. I learned so much about myself just from when I started learning it back in, was it 2001? I was introduced to it before then, but I wasn't really ready for it until 2001. Now, the tarot I was introduced to back in my 20s, but when I went to metaphysical seminary, that was a required class. And, where all the different symbols were broken down. And I only took one class. My teacher, after one class, pulled me aside and she said, you don't belong in this class. She said, obviously, you're well aware of the tarot and all of the meanings and so forth. And she's actually the one who introduced me to the mystery school that I ended up joining, because they went even further in breaking down the tarot. But she said, I'm don't worry, you're going to pass this class, no problem. You don't have to come back. But for your own personal growth and development, I want you to join this mystery school. And I did. And it introduced me to the Kabbalion, and then also to the deeper elements of the tarot and the spiritual meanings of every single card. Mm-hmm. Constance says, thanks for recommending her book. And this is referring back again to Venerable Wen. Yeah. I've been looking at it to read because I feel the I Ching had been calling to me. Yeah. There are so many lessons to learn from each of these different oracle systems. Now, I was going to say there was a version of the I Ching that I really was not down with. I really, really, really was not. When I was living in Philadelphia, I picked this up in one of the bookstores out there, and I ended up bringing it back to the store. I was just, it was slanted in a way that was very offensive to me. And I mean, it just was not, it just was not working for me. Okay. It really was not. But then I was able to get this other miniature deck that was created by Thomas Cleary, who has a lot of information out there, a lot of books. Like he's got his miniature version of the Tao. He's got his miniature version of um, the Art of War. And then he's also got an extended version where he's got a bunch of comparative studies within it. But regarding the I Ching, he had a mini book, but also a beautiful mini deck. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful artwork on it. And again, extremely precise. Reverend Tamu says, you'll appreciate how nerdy she is about information, historical facts, copious information. See, we're on that tip because, a lot of people who are dealing with alternative belief systems or indigenous ancestral practices, we tend to be on the geek tip. We love the information. We love using cognitive skills, but also we love finding out how all this incorporates into our lives spiritually. So that means that we're open as well to spirit. It's not just all about what we think, like I shared yesterday. It can't be all about book knowledge. It's got to be experiential as well. But being able to do good research or excellent research really is the key to everything. See, just like with all these books, how they're created, it takes research. Um, Fushi, no, that's not what, Master Huang. He had been doing research for years, and then you compile everything and put it out there. I tell you, sometimes I get stuck in what I'm going to put out there to the public because of the fact that I have so many notes. I take notes all of the time. I mean, they're just like they're everywhere. They're just okay. I mean, and reminders for myself, and then I have like this little box here with notes, along with this like mini books, mini notebooks. And then I have a lot of regular sized notebooks. I mean, there are notes everywhere. This poor one I wore out. The pages were coming out, and this has stuff that's in upcoming books and also present books. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. Then you have the books that you make for yourself, and it's then you decide, okay, what's too much? What is too much information? Just like we were talking about with the internet. What's too much? What is what should be kept as privileged? What will be dangerous to put out there? How should you put stuff out there for your more advanced students? It's always an issue, and I find it even more so now. But see, here we go back again to talking about intuition, and you start to tap into intuition and then find out, okay, so now hold back on this. No, this needs to be said. No, wait on this. Don't release this yet. Wait. Timing. Honoring timing is so very important. And see, Oracle also teaches you about honoring time because it talks about things that are projected to occur. But see, here's the thing when it comes to Kemetic Oracle and some other African Oracle systems as well. It's not just, oh, wow, this is going to happen. All right. And for you to go, oh my God, what am I going to do? No, there's always the remedy. All right. So here's what the shaping factors are in this. And this is what's likely to happen. However, you can approach it in this way. That's the difference, right? You have people who may be gifted who will share their oracular gifts with you, but then they just leave you hanging. You are not supposed to leave somebody hanging. It's like if you go to a doctor and you find out you've got a certain ailment, and the doctor just tells you, well, you've got this. See you. No. You have to have a remedy. This is where your life is empowering for you to decide what to do, how to approach something, or whether to leave it alone. The 17th Gua in the I Ching has a couple of different depictions, and it's called following. Now, in the Master Huang version, I found it so very interesting that he included one of the original texts that talked about a queen who went to a prophet priest and got a session and was told, okay, so this, and this. And she looked at it and she pondered and she said, I choose not to accept that. So that's very powerful because it indicates how you can still get a reading. Okay, you can have a session and then sit there and go like, this does not resonate with me. It's not a matter of being in denial, because with some people it's just denial. You'll have something laid out and it'll say like this, and the person will be like, no, that doesn't relate to me. No, simply because they don't want to accept that this is who they really are. They're not seeing themselves in a realistic way, and they don't want you to pick up on all the crap that's come up. And also because they may be somewhat Pollyannish. But the biggest thing is being in denial because they don't want to acknowledge a certain aspect of their own lives. And then when it happens, they act surprised because they didn't want to believe that it was going to happen. But still, even if it's, if it's not a matter of denial, if it's a situation where you're just feeling like this is off information, or maybe this is information that applies to someone else, because it can also be that the person giving you the consultation may be picking up on the energy of somebody close to you. You know, that's possible too. I could not understand I Ching until I met Benabel and her work. Dug deep. Now the code's been cracked, and I keep learning more each time. My favorite I Ching deck is Madeva Padma Dao Oracle. And Benabel Wen has an I Ching Oracle deck that you can download for free. Something really magical about that word free. I love that. Make sure I put that in my Google. Okay. Now I'm going to give you advice um, for what to do if you are, um, let's say, a consultant. If you give people consultations, and one of the best ways to be able to approach it, of course, making sure that you are cleansed, making sure that you have not just come out of the bar, making sure that you're not around somebody who's been smoking, or especially if you know that you're not feeling well, you're around somebody who hasn't been feeling well. Um, you want to make sure that you're in tip-top shape when you do this. Why? Because you want to make sure that you're as pure a vessel as you can be, because you're bringing forth divine truth, and you don't want to be a flawed vessel bringing forth truth. Now, we're human. That does not mean that perfection is something that is warranted all the time. And see, if you're keen also, and your intuition is open, you can pick up on if you go to someone and they're giving you a misinterpretation of something that they're picking up. I talked the other day about how you can have three blind people who are feeling different parts of an elephant, and they will all give you different descriptions based on whether they're feeling the nose, whether they're pulling the tail, whether they're rubbing the skin on the leg, or they feel the toes, whatever. So people will go according to what their perspective is, even though you may have um, your spiritual crew trying to get a message forward to you. If you have someone who is very, very skewed in the way that they approach things, then it could be a problem, because that's a limitation. But again, we're human. So for yourself, as the person who brings forth oracle, you want to make sure not only that you're cleansed, but also that you are doing it for the right reason. There are so many people who are just like piling on money. It's just a money making venture. So each day you've got 10 different readings. Oh my goodness, I don't know how people do that, because after one session I find myself depleted. I seldom, well, I mean, I'm really picky right now, even if I do any sessions for anybody, because the fact that people can be a pain in the butt. You'll have people who you can be 100% correct with, and then they'll acknowledge it, but then they try to get over and say, well, I don't really feel like that was right. So, there's a lot of misinformation in there, so I want my money back. Listen, I have a clause now. You have to dig to find where I book consultations on my website, because I used to just have it like right out there. In fact, wait, did I change that? I meant to. Anyway, but it now says, listen, I put time out there. Don't try to pull some crackpot thing on me talking about after I already did the session that you want your money back. When you go to a doctor, the doctor may diagnose you. You may not agree with the diagnosis, but you still got to pay the doctor. You can't go back and say, I want my money back because I don't like the diagnosis. That was the doctor's time. You have to acknowledge that. You have to honor that, all right? And then if you don't like it, then you can go get a second opinion and spend some more money someplace else, okay? Same thing with oracle readings, although I don't advise you to bounce around from person to person to person. First of all, it's insulting. Second of all, it's a waste of other people's time. And then please don't play that little game of like, sitting there where you put up a complete wall and, you're sitting there like, okay, I'm going to make you work to get this. Okay, so we trying to work together here for your betterment. You want to have the messages come through that your ancestors and your crew wants you to have, are we playing games? Don't come playing no games with me, okay? So back to my advice, and I'll get to your question in a minute, KW. Be very careful. Make sure that you have people who are sincere and also who have good character. The other day we were talking about nefer. Nefer is good. Bit nefer means good character. You want people of good character. And I was also saying last week about how we should all love money, but all money is not good money. So that doesn't mean that you should just stack your day with a whole bunch of oracle readings and just anybody can be sitting in front of you, because there's some readings you don't want to do. There are some people you don't want to have around you, and even if they plunk down $1,000 in front of you for 15 minutes, if they're some really crappy individuals with some information and some spiritual problems that you don't want to be a part of, then is that $1,000 really worth it? Okay, so for those of you who have not been familiar with this other side of my life, welcome. And then you have times where you really can help people and change their lives. Now, one thing that I had slowed down on, because it's so time intensive and it takes so much out of you, is doing the Kemetic astrological birth charts, which is based on Kemetic astrology, numerology, color therapy. Also includes the appropriate scriptures that you should guide your life with. Is very intensive, and extensive. So, but within it also, you're able to get an idea of your personal energy patterns and what guardians to work with, who works with you, who to reach out to. I even have yoga poses that go along with your guardians that are recommended for you to do whenever you need to have some centering, need to have some answers, But I know I refer back to my charts often. Okay, this is happening now in the universe. Let me see where this is and what's this about and what. So that's another really effective form. Yes, indeed, Reverend Tamu had a Kemetic birth chart done, and wow, and her chart was great. I get a lot of joy out of doing these. For some people it's like pulling teeth. It's just like, oh God. But for people that you really do respect and care about, and when it's interesting, when it's really fascinating, it becomes such a big thing for me. I love it. I really, really love it, because you have a deeper understanding of yourself and also who the person is. And of course it's private. I don't go around sharing people's charts, right? I mean, that's just like, breaking an oath, like a doctor wouldn't go around just sharing your chart with everybody. But also seeing the synchronicity and how it works. Just wow. And then also the Ren that comes to you, the Kemetic name that is entirely consistent with the chart, with the person's birth name at that. I mean, wow. Yeah. But going back to dealing with clients, you want to make sure you're really, really grounded. Make sure you have oils on that are going to protect you, and that are also going to enhance you in the best way, but that are also going to um, safeguard you and immediately remove somebody who's going to be a problem. For people who are receiving, on the other side of that, people who are receiving um, oracle sessions, then you want to make sure that you provide the information that's asked for. Be honest. Actually, let's start there. Number one, be honest. Don't come trying to front. Don't pretend that you're something you're not. Don't give wrong information just to see if your or oracular counselor is going to pick up on it. You know, don't play games. Uh, Focus on it being a healing session, not an ego-driven session. You know, oh, well, um, what guardians do you see? And more than that, just tell me more about me. Yes, it's all about you, but this is all information that's supposed to help enhance your life. And then please don't come to steal a person's method. Just don't try. Don't do that. There are so many people who become what I call gurus. They get a little bit of knowledge, and all of a sudden they make themselves an expert. And a lot of their expertise depends on what information they're able to extrapolate from others and then parrot. So it's not really a good idea. In the Kemetic tradition, there are a couple of words for someone who has the knowledge of or the wisdom, the ability to be a seer, and that is there is ma'a, a seer. Okay, and there are a few other words that come to mind. I think I've written them down actually in this little book here, this little teeny book. I remember when I made all the notes and then put them in here, and then see all the notes started. See how long I've had this thing? So I believe this is the correct. Well, here's where I originally wrote that poem. Okay. Let's see. These notes are. Oh, wow. I have notes here from 10 years ago, 12/20/14. Wow. Excuse me for a moment. Sorry about that. Wow. Anyway, there are several names for seers and prophets, and they were considered vital to the life of a community. Okay, I'm not going to bore you right now trying to find. Oh, wow. You know what? This is the book that I want. It's a good thing I went looking. There's some stuff in here I've been looking for. Okay, so yeah, I have all the different positions. Some of this went into my last book. No, the book before last, of the different roles. Okay, so you have Amisa Bata, that's the priest of protective jewelry. Bringer of reports. Seshmiher is one for an oracle. And let me see. Yeah, I wrote out all the different roles in a temple, by the priesthood. And so, yeah, that's pretty extensive. You also have the Emi Wunut, that's the astrologist. So anyway, finally, You want to make sure that you're, as both the consultant and the client, or let's find another word, the person seeking insight. Okay, you want to make sure that you're both on the same page regarding energy level. Now, you may have someone who comes to you who's very, very troubled, and certainly if you're able to help them with the insight that you give them, then that's great. Be aware also that your wisest person is going to incorporate a lot of everyday practical information too, and insight based on their life experience and also their wisdom, which they may feel is um, highly applicable to your situation. It's important to listen to that as well as the mystical stuff, because it all works together. Sometimes we just get so caught up in, oh well, this guardian and blah blah blah, and I'm going to do this ritual, but they don't. But then you find people don't know how to live. The whole purpose of this is to help you to know how to live better. Yeah. Any questions? Being an oracle or using oracle, that's a divine gift. And it's not just some fun thing you should do at parties, some trick you've picked up, and you want to astound your friends. Don't do that. Don't. You want to make sure you get plenty of rest too. And that's on both sides. All right? Because ideally, you should be working in tandem with the giver and the receiver. Because ultimately, the bottom line should be wanting to receive the divine messages that are going to help you live your better and best life. Okay? Are we good? Tomorrow, I'm going to be speaking on the great comeback. And I'm just going to share a little bit with you about how it's possible for almost anybody to be able to rebound. Well, like I said, almost, because like when I ended yesterday, I was talking about the fact that not everybody deserves mercy. I don't want you to think that I'm some cold-hearted whatever. This is from somebody who has learned our lessons hard and also has done a lot of research in terms of the advice of the Kemetic ancestors. They didn't teach, oh, you just have to forgive and then forget. No, they didn't teach that. No. But I have to say, I was so gladdened by the new video, the new song by Will Smith. Who'd have thought that he would be the comeback kid of the year? He has the most wonderful motivational song about coming back from seemingly impossible circumstances and overcoming your enemies and still believing in yourself and your higher power to get you through. It's great. And I saw the video because I missed the BET Awards the other night, although from what I understand, I really didn't miss much. But you know how that goes these days. You just catch the highlights, but good and well, especially if it's BET. BET is going to rerun it to death, okay? They're going to run it into the ground, and then they're going to resurrect it and run it again. So I wasn't really worried about it. But I found that was a gem that came up on my feed that made me so happy I played it over and over and over again. So we'll be talking about that, coming back from welcome back from the dead. I should call it something like that. It is possible for you to overcome if you have contrition. No contrition, no mercy. And with that, I will wish everyone a good night. You've been listening to Shenu Living. I am Queen Mother Imakhu, also known as Imakhu, also known as La Serena Imakhu. And it's been my joy to be here tonight. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening. And I hope you all have a wonderful and joyous and prosperous and successful day. We say Merea, which means much love. Heri, which means be at peace. Teni, which means be accountable. and jebewi, which means to be merciful, and remember to apply the appropriate amount of mercy not only to others who are truly deserving of it, and to yourself. And remember, regarding this situation that we have going on, well, the situations that seem like they're exploding all over the place, or they've been like on a slow simmer, and then all of a sudden, there are remedies. And I guess we should review the remedies tomorrow. But in the meantime, reswine chem, sweet dreams.